This might be one of the most overlooked stories in tech history. A company helped build the future, but others were the ones sent who brought it to the world. Right now, you're using technology shaped by ideas developed decades ago, but you've probably never heard the full story. Imagine sitting at your desk, moving your mouse, clicking on icons, navigating through windows on your screen. It feels like second nature. We often associate this digital experience with figures like Steve Jobs or Bill Gates. But the origins of these ideas go back further and to a place many people don't expect. What if the foundation of the modern computer interface was developed inside a company best known for making office copiers? In the 1970s, a single research lab in Silicon Valley helped shape what would later become the blueprint for personal computing. This is the story of Xerox, a company that pioneered groundbreaking ideas, but, as many analysts suggest, did not fully capitalize on them. I'm Andrew, and this is TheCapitalPlus. To understand this story, we have to look at the legendary Xerox PARC. While Xerox's core business focused on copiers and office systems, PARC operated very differently. Researchers were given unusual freedom to experiment, explore, and build entirely new kinds of technology. Out of that environment came innovations that would later define personal computing. Among them was the Xerox Alto, an experimental computer that introduced concepts like graphical user interfaces, icons, windows, and the use of a mouse. It also contributed to early networking technologies, such as Ethernet. At the time, these ideas were revolutionary. However, they were largely confined to research environments and not widely commercialized. This is where the story becomes more complex. Business analysts often describe situations like this using frameworks similar to the innovator's dilemma, where successful companies can struggle to adopt disruptive technologies that may challenge their existing business models. In Xerox's case, its main revenue came from copiers and printing systems. As a result, some analysts suggest that emerging concepts like the paperless office may have been viewed as uncertain or not immediately practical. This kind of tension isn't unique. For example, Kodak is often cited as a case where early digital camera technology was developed internally, but the transition away from film happened slowly. These examples are frequently used in business studies to illustrate how difficult it can be for established companies to pivot. In 1979, a well-known moment in tech history took place. Steve Jobs and members of the Apple team visited Xerox PARC. During that visit, they were introduced to several experimental technologies being developed there. This visit is widely believed to have influenced Apple's later products, particularly the Macintosh, which helped bring graphical user interfaces to a much wider audience. Later, Microsoft introduced Windows, further standardizing these ideas across the industry. It's important to note that historians and experts continue to discuss the extent of this influence. However, it is widely recognized that PARC played a significant role in shaping the direction of personal computing. Today, Xerox is still an active company, but it is not typically grouped among the largest modern tech giants. For many analysts, its story serves as a powerful case study, not necessarily a failure, but of how timing, strategy, and execution can determine whether an innovation becomes a global product or remains an internal breakthrough. In business, it's not always enough to invent the future. You also have to recognize it and act on it. If you found this breakdown of one of the most fascinating stories in tech history insightful, you're in the right place. Here at TheCapitalPlus, we create cinematic business documentaries that explore how industries evolve and how major decisions shape the world around us. If you're interested in more stories about companies like Disney or McDonald's and how they scaled globally, consider subscribing and turning on notifications. And if you want to dive deeper into another iconic industry story, check out our next video on the history of the global diamond market. I'll see you in the next one. Cheers.